Good afternoon. My name is Mark Goodman. You're watching live interactive call-in TV here on CAN TV 21. What we're starting now with our series sponsored by Score Chicago is the finalists of our elevator pitch plus contest, and Molly here is our first person we're having on. Let's kind of go through the paperwork to begin with. So this is August 8th, and Molly's company is Rooftop Greenworks, and if you do want to write this down, her URL is rooftopgreenworks.com. A little bit about Score. People come to Score because they want to start or buy a business. We help them with the SBA, help them with strategic issues around sales declining or growing, and we do quite a bit of work with people on the internet. As I said, this whole series is tied into an ultimate climax at the Small Business Expo, which is on October 4th. There's a couple of events coming up to that. You know, we're doing this show every Thursday at 5:30. There will be a presentation on October 2nd around Crane's Small Business Week, and then the forum on October 4th. These are our upcoming shows with our finalists. We have Molly Meyer of Rooftop Greenworks, then a number of other people, kind of a mixed bag of different companies. And what happens is, of these 5 people who are here, or 6 people who are here, that 3 of them will get cash prizes. There's a $5,000 first prize, a $2,500 second prize, a $1,000 third prize. And also, if you want to, you can take a look at all of the elevator pitches which were submitted, and they're all on snippitch.com. If you go to SnipPitch and you like different videos, the person who actually gets the most likes, the most activity on their elevator pitch, and is not a winner of the money, will actually get a booth at the Small Business Expo. So lots of different things. So if you want to watch it and help participate in our contest, you can. Debbie here is on the phone, and if you have a question for me or Molly as to what we do, you can give us a call at 312-738-1060. Debbie will talk to you, and assuming your question is relevant, we'll put you on the air and you can ask Molly or I a question. So there we are. It took us about 3 minutes to get through all of the paperwork here. So Molly, you're a finalist here, and you had to do an elevator pitch. And if you want to see Molly's elevator pitch, you can see her winning elevator pitch on snippitch.com. I'm going to ask Molly to give just an elevator pitch she would give in networking to anybody. So you can look in the camera there, Molly, and give people your elevator pitch.
Thanks. So at Rooftop Greenworks, we create all sorts of living infrastructure. That would be green roofs and green walls, any sort of planted surface on the built environment. And so the specific thing that I talked about in the elevator pitch were living walls. So living walls, we've created a new system that is much easier to maintain and much less expensive to install than others that are available. And actually the first one's going to be in downtown Chicago in November at the bar in the Thompson Hotel, which is the old Sutton Place at Rush and State.
Okay. So you can put up a living wall in a building in November?
We can, because these are special interior plants that work well indoors, and they're grown in a tropical environment so that they'll stay healthy year-round inside.
Okay, so a living wall is something that I would put, obviously, inside my building?
Yeah, well, this specific one that we're growing for the Thompson Hotel is an interior plantscape. There are exterior ones. In Chicago, they're hit or miss on how well they do. Because we have such harsh winters, they can be very difficult to survive.
Okay, so Molly brought in some pictures. The pictures are more specific to a single part of your business, yes, no?
Yeah, they show different kind of aspects of living infrastructure that we create. So there are a few different examples.
So you were saying when we were talking earlier that you have 4 different segments to your business?
We do, yeah.
Okay. So why don't you tell me about the 4 segments that you have in your business?
Sure. So we create living walls, and those are mostly interior. We create green roofs, and those would be, literally on rooftops and outdoors. And we also are creating a rooftop farm to our business, and those are, and then we also have an element to our business where we supply all these systems to other people, other contractors outside of Chicago.
So a rooftop farm, you're growing vegetables on my roof?
Yeah, we
Okay.
are. Yeah.
So what vegetables grow best on a roof?
Good question. Last year, we actually grew corn on a roof.
Okay.
And we claimed that it was the best corn crop in the state of Illinois, which wasn't a hard thing to claim last year. But the things that we've had a lot of success with are tomatoes, kale, lettuce, and arugula. We grow strawberries on roofs, and so really quite a lot of leafy greens, and then some other fruits as well.
So you can imagine going up to your roof and, picking your salad and bringing it downstairs and having it for dinner.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so if you do have a question for Molly on rooftop gardens or growing things, or you have a question for me relative to business, you can give us a call at 312-738-1060. So Molly, you have some pictures here.
Yes.
All right, let's look at a couple of Molly's pictures and see what we've got. So what is this picture here?
Sure. So this picture shows a rendering of the living wall units that we've created, and that these will be installed this fall. So this kind of shows how what we've done here is very different from other living wall systems. We've created these little pockets in the wall that allow for that mimic step terrace farming, like in mountainous regions. So we create these tiny steps or terraces where we can actually plant so that plants grow vertically out of the wall. And typical living wall systems are grown so that they're placed horizontally, and then that system is slowly lifted towards vertical in a greenhouse.
Okay.
The difficulty with that is when plants die, naturally some will, they're really difficult to replace in a wall when they're trying to grow straight out of the wall.
So you have to grow it and then train it, and then when it dies, there's no real good way to kind of retrain your wall.
Exactly. So this one's equipped so that it's can be trained easily.
Okay, let's look at another one of these. So what do we have here?
This is actually some of the first units that are planted, and they're growing in a greenhouse now, getting ready to be shipped to the job site. And you can see that there's a little cutback on the upper corner, and that allows for us to hide irrigation and drain tubing so that we're going to get a complete facade of greenery, and you won't see kind of the mechanicals or utilities to those.
So how much maintenance does it take if you have a green wall as opposed to just having regular plants?
Sure. It's pretty much the same as long as you have an irrigation system. You don't have to water them. And then we always inspect for pests. There's more plant density, so you have to be a little bit closer checking on pests.
Okay, let's see what else we have here as far as pictures.
Here's a picture of a roof that we built last year.
So that's kind of the roof in the front and like a little bar patio in the back.
Yeah, we actually built the roof for Homestead. It's a farm-to-table restaurant in the city at Chicago and Damon, or near there.
All right.
And so it's actually only open from May to September, and only on nights when the weather's good.
Okay. All right, so basically if you go up to the roof of the restaurant, you can have a nice outdoor meal and you can overlook the restaurant garden.
Right, and they actually pick produce that's used in the plates and in the cocktails from that garden.
Okay, so this is at the Homestead restaurant. Is this up this year too?
It's still up this year, yes.
Okay, so where's that restaurant?
It's near Chicago and Damon.
Okay, the Homestead restaurant in Chicago and Damon if you want to check out a rooftop garden. So let's see what else we have here. Okay, well, this looks very colorful. What is it?
Yeah, so this is a wildflower meadow that we
Okay.
planted on a residence in Logan Square. And this is just 6 weeks after we planted it. It's already flowering, and this is actually what they see every morning when they wake up. So,
Okay, so they kind of have this, and then they have their bedroom. So when they wake up, they open the windows and they see their wildflower garden.
right, and the windows are actually close enough that they can reach out and pick food because we planted food immediately adjacent to the windows, so they could pick tomatoes and kale.
So you've kind of redefined breakfast in bed here, haven't you?
I guess so.
Okay, and this is our last one here. So what are we looking at here?
Sure. Actually, this is a picture of a 6,000 square foot green roof that we built on the public TV station in Indianapolis.
Okay.
So the reason that they wanted a green roof was much different than anyone else. They'd actually built an annex to the TV station about 5 years ago, and the sound every time it rained or stormed would go through and be picked up by the audio equipment. And so we were hired just to put on this growing media and plants to create the sound insulation. And now there's a lot of offices that overlook this, and they get a lot better view during the day.
Okay, but I guess one of the things I really can't do is plant this between the second and third floor and help out with my noisy neighbors. Yeah.
Not yet.
Okay, so how do you measure the success of your business?
That's a good question. I think that when we get repeat business, when we get an architect who calls us back, or a building owner that calls us back, a developer, then I know that we've been doing a good job.
So who are your key target customers?
Yeah, architects are one, building owners, general contractors, roofing contractors, and landscape contractors. So we work with all of those to create these kind of living infrastructures on their projects.
Why would an architect be, interested in, putting in a green roof?
Right. So for permitting in the city of Chicago, if you have a commercial building that's over 5,000 square feet, the city often asks you to put a green roof on, and it can expedite your permit as well. And then additionally, right now for all Class A buildings that are being developed in the city, many of them are meeting the U.S. Green Building Council's LEED standards, and those standards are really becoming a given or a defined for all premier or office space, and one aspect of those is green roofs.
Okay, well, this is a question that isn't on the list, but it's the one that is kind of curious to me, is that if I had a house like, the one you showed, where they put in the green roof, how much more expensive is it to put in a green roof than a regular roof?
That's a great question. So if you had the same roof,
Okay.
then you would, an additional cost may start from about $10 a square foot and go up.
Okay.
So for really big roofs, it can be a little bit lower because you get an economy of scale.
Right.
But typically you will start at 10 and go up from there, depending on plant selection, soil depth, ease of access. Those sorts of things affect how the price changes.
Now, am I better off getting a green roof if have a current house, or do green roofs make more sense if I'm building a new house?
They work for both situations. So one of those aspects of the business that I described, where we've actually created our own roof system, we've created this type of growing media or soil that's much lighter weight than any other growing media available. As an example, if you wanted to put a lawn on your roof where your kids could play, you typically need 80 pounds a square foot of structural capacity for that. We can do it in 24 pounds a square foot. So there's substantially less need for structural upgrades.
Now, I would have to figure out how I would, I guess if I was putting a lawn, I have to figure out how to water it. I have to figure out how to cut the grass.
That's true.
Like bring the lawnmower up the elevator?
Just don't bring a riding lawnmower up.
Okay. How do you reach these target customers that you are talking about?
Yeah, with architects, there's a standard of lunch and learns within the industry. So as a vendor, we often go in, provide lunch and an hour-long training session on how to use our systems or design our systems. And then with building owners and developers, we reach out through networking events in the city.
What's a question you typically would get from a building owner?
Yeah, so they're often asking, the first question you asked, one of the first ones was price.
Okay.
And the next questions that come up are always structural, and then waterproofing, like, will this affect the waterproofing integrity of the roof membrane?
So will it affect the waterproofing? What's the question again?
Integrity.
So will it affect the waterproof integrity of my building?
No, so long as the right roof is selected.
Okay.
So as an example, there are different types of roof membranes.
Okay.
PVC, EPDM, TPO, modified bitumen. These are all roof membranes that can accommodate a green roof,
Okay.
but not all of them can.
Mm-hmm.
And then additionally, we think about what kind of green roof system we're putting on. We always put a root barrier down first and a protection fabric. So those things kind of create a barrier to make sure that any damage doesn't occur to the waterproof membrane.
So what kind of guarantee? I mean, you hear about roofs and like I have a 10-year guarantee or a 20-year guarantee. What kind of guarantee do you have on like a green roof?
That's a really good question, and that's the sticking point in the industry right now. For the plant growth itself,
Mm-hmm.
typically you'll get a 1 to 2 year guarantee that plants will grow.
Okay.
And however, if you want to know that that roof membrane stays watertight and you don't want to hire 2 contractors should a leak develop,
Mm-hmm.
you can get what's called a single source warranty.
Okay.
And those are offered by the major waterproofing manufacturers like Carlisle and Henry and those guys,
Mm-hmm.
and Firestone. And we have relationships with those companies so that they'll actually warrant our system on top of theirs. So that means that if a leak were to develop in a Carlisle system, they would be the responsible party for removing our system and putting it back to repair that.
So I've actually, as I'm thinking about this a little bit, is that if I was designing a building and I wanted a green roof and I had an architect and I had a contractor, who would I buy the green roof from?
Yeah. So technically, you'd be paying the check to your contractor,
Okay.
right? But it goes through a chain of command or chain of who's really deciding, because our system, for example, as I mentioned, it's lighter weight and grows more plant options. So you as an owner might say, well, I only want to use Rooftop Greenworks' system.
Okay.
And so in a way, we're selling to you because you affect the chain of architect, contractor, and so forth. But you'd really be paying the check to the contractor.
So it's kind of like if I was redoing my kitchen and I had a specific kind of cabinet that I wanted to buy, I might research that cabinet and I would say to the contractor, gosh, I really, like this cabinet. The contractor would price it out and put it in the whole quote, but certainly I, as the homeowner, would have a vote.
Right, yes. So in many ways, we have a lot of customers.
And I think that that's not unusual when it comes to selling things, is that while you may buy it from a third party, somebody may buy your product from a third party, a lot of times you have to create the knowledge and the influence with the end user.
Right.
So as you're thinking about that for your business, it's something that's worth thinking about. I'm going to, we've spent a bunch of time here. I wanted to talk a little bit about SCORE. So you talked to SCORE mentor. So how did you work with your SCORE mentor in preparation for this show?
Yeah, we discussed the questions that you might be asking me.
Okay.
I didn't quite all the questions. You surprised me. But then we also talked about the business in general. We talked about our marketing strategy, our customer base, how we're working on diversifying our business through living walls, through supplying our own system. And we also talked about kind of what it would mean to expand, because now we're known locally and we have some influence regionally, but in the next few years we'd like to really establish ourselves regionally and look toward a national level.
Okay, so you talked about, so what are your plans here to work with your SCORE mentor going forward?
Right. So I'm looking forward to meeting with her again to go through our individual business plans, because we don't have just one business plan for the company, since we have so many things we're involved in that really have kind of different business elements to them. We've created business plans for each, and I'd like to go through those with her and get really specific counseling on how to move forward.
I think one of the things to think about when you're working with a SCORE mentor is that a SCORE mentor is there not only when you're starting your business, but your SCORE mentor is there for you on a regular basis. Our more successful people typically meet with their mentor, on a monthly basis
Great.
and review those things. Because, one of the things that the mentor will do is will turn to you and say, well, this was your plan 2 months ago. What have you done with it?
There's some accountability there.
Yeah, because it's real easy to say, oh, well, yeah, I had that on my plan, but... And I think it being you have 4 different businesses, you're really going to have to go through a little bit of a thought process as to, do I keep pursuing this one, or do I, put more energy into another one? I can understand your diversification. At the same time, it's going to be a challenge.
Right, it's a balancing act as well. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about video and using social media. So you used a video on YouTube to enter the contest. What can you tell me about how your company uses social media?
Sure. I think that's actually another way SCORE can help us.
Okay.
But we have...
well, we're helping you already.
Continue to help us. I have an employee who runs our Facebook and LinkedIn sites.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have created several videos on how to install a green roof that we distribute to kind of a select group of customers, architects and contractors who need that specific technical knowledge. Yeah.
So you say you use Facebook and LinkedIn. Tell me a little bit about how you use Facebook.
With Facebook, we create albums that show each of our projects, and you can see progress photos of how it looked before the green roof was installed, through the installation process, and then the first few months and even a year and 2 out. We also use it because a lot of people ask, what happens in the winter to a green roof? And snow happens in the winter. It sits on the roof, and people are always curious about that, and so we have pictures to kind of show the seasonality of rooftops, of green rooftops.
Do I have to go out and shovel my roof? Well, I guess, sometimes I have to shovel my roof even if I have a regular roof. One of the things we've found effective is putting up a webcam.
That's great. We put up a webcam on one of our roofs. It's actually a balcony.
Mm-hmm.
So in my old condo, we put a roof cam on the balcony
mm-hmm.
and posted that online and said, if you want to watch the grass grow, here you go.
Well, we're doing actually, I do a website for a science park, and they're building a new building. And a lot of different people are kind of watching the progress of the building. So especially when it comes to like working with architects, send them an email, include a link, and say if you want to check out how this is coming together. The most fascinating things is that typically with websites, you probably run 60, 70, 80% of your people as new visitors if you've looked at your numbers.
Okay.
With the webcam, we run about 25% new visitors because people are coming back.
Wow. That's a substantial difference.
Looking at the progress. So, if you win the $5,000 prize that we have here, you have about 40 seconds to answer this. How do you intend to use it to help you grow your business?
Great. Well, we actually, the mold that creates those living walls, we got the first round of the plastic parts delivered, but they were vastly overpriced from what we expected. And if we put a $5,000 amendment, actually it's a $6,000 amendment to the mold itself, then we can drastically reduce the price of living walls even further. And so we'd put it towards updating that mold.
Okay, well that's a good thing to do. I'm going to do a little bit of closing stuff here. But once again, if you want to, in Indianapolis, and you want to check out the TV roof, you can see that one. And your wall here is going up where is this going up in November?
This will be at the Thompson Hotel, 21 East Bellevue.
Okay, so is this a new hotel?
It is,
okay,
yeah.
The new Thompson Hotel, 21 East Bellevue, so you can check that out in November. Let's just go back and knock off some of our bookkeeping slides here. Okay, once again, if SCORE has free counseling or mentoring. We have an online appointment system. We do workshops and training, and we have a management consulting group. If you want to find us in social media, you can tweet us at SCORE Chicago. This show, segments of the show will be up on our YouTube channel, Score Chicago Video. The whole show will be up on our Blip TV channel, our website, www.scorechicago.org. You can drop us an email at email@scorechicago or give us a call at 312-353-7724. Molly, thank you very much for being our inaugural guest. We'll have our next guest for next week, and we'll see you then.